Thousands of Iranians from different walks of life have taken to the streets to attend the massive funeral processions for those who have fallen victims to acts of terrorism during several days of violent foreign-backed unrest and riots in the Iranian capital and other cities. Iranians are taking part in the funeral processions in different cities to bid farewell and pay tribute to a nurse who was burned to death, to a 3-year-old girl who was shot dead by terrorists while in her father's arm, to security forces who were beaten to death and their dead bodies were dragged across the streets, and to other civilians killed by gunmen after they opened random fire on bystanders and fired at protesters at close distance. The participants here believe that there is a clear line of division between peaceful protesters who demand their legitimate right to call for a better livelihood and economy, and those foreign-backed rioters who incite the public and promote violence and kill innocent civilians. They say that what Iran needs now more than any other time is national unity, both in the face of foreign threats and internal unrest.
Now, people have better access to political information. We saw Libya, we saw Syria and Damascus, and we will not allow Iran to be like them. We stand behind this country. We stand behind our leader. We don't empty our hearts. We have unity. Unity is the most important thing we have.
Our presence here is thanks to the security forces who have worked hard and stood up against the terrorists. Our national unity is very important to us because the main goal of the protesters was to destroy our national security. I came here because today is the day of their funeral, and I wanted to thank them. And this was the smallest thing I could do.
Thursday night was the peak of riots in Iran when, in an orchestrated move in different cities, the terrorists and foreign-backed elements set fire to mosques, destroyed, burned a number of public buses, set to over 20 houses, and burned the holy Muslim book of Quran. Gunmen were clearly seen among the crowds of people opening fire at security forces and civilians with the aim of creating insecurity and instigating violence and riots across the country. Until Thursday night, the Iranian police had shown restraint with protesters, but when it became quite clear that armed terrorists were creating insecurity, endangering the lives of civilians and security forces and damaging public properties, the police intervened strongly and finally brought the situation under its full control, which led to the arrest of a number of terrorists and confiscation of stockpiles of weapons and ammunition from the terrorist hideouts. The protest began on December 28 by a group of merchants shopkeeping in Iran's Grand Bazaar over the depreciation of the Iranian national currency against US dollar on the open market and economic grievances. The peaceful protests of the initial days turned violent in the days after in several provincial cities and towns, including in Ilo and Sharm and al-Bakhtiari provinces. Iranian security officials warned that the unrest had foreign backing. Against this backdrop, Iran's top security official issued a stark warning, accusing the rioters of terrorism and framing the violence as an organized attempt by external actors to destabilize the country. Moreover, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has voiced his full support for what he called the struggle of the Iranian people for freedom. Also, anti-Iranian calls by certain opposition monarchist groups living abroad added fuel to the fire of unrest and disclosed existing links between the terrorist acts and foreign involvement. While the scene here reflects both remembrance and resolve for participants at this massive funeral procession, it is not only about paying tribute to those killed, but also about asserting their continuous support for the Islamic Republic of Iran and its leadership in the face of internal disputes and foreign pressure. The high turnout of people here underscores a message that many people wish to send out to the world, that Iran remains determined to safeguard its independence, its stability, and the values born out of the Islamic Revolution. Saman Kojouri, RT, Tehran.